There are positives, though, guys. And as we are already getting ready to wrap up, because this hour just flies by when you're having fun, there are positives that we have seen, especially recently from the Philadelphia Union. One is the youth. I know people talk a lot about running it back, and we have talked about it a lot on this show as well. But in reality, there's a lot of youth that's been brought into this team that's getting meaningful minutes, that's also progressing as the season goes on. We talked about Oliver Zemla and Andrew Rick, but even on the field in other positions, we're seeing whether it's the emergence of Quinn Sullivan or how Jack is even becoming more offensive minded, or Nate's ability to get up into the attack and really show some great composure in his final runs and services to join into the offense. And then also you have, a lot of young players, but then some guys that we don't see as many minutes from. Tai Baribo, one of them. And we've talked a lot about him being someone, Jesus Bueno another, that we feel like might have something in the tank to add. And we did get a chance to finally see them this past week. They get to start both games, obviously get the goals in that 4-3 insane game. That was actually a good game.
It was a lot of fun
when you
to
really
call.
think about it, that 4-3 loss, and I would say the first half against Charlotte, the Union actually still looked good. It's not the result you want, but it's two hard-fought games for a game and a half, and I would even say maybe the last few minutes of that stoppage goal by Acosta, they, were a little flat. But you could see the spark there. You could see with with having players away, knowing players are going to be away, this was a chance for guys to get the nod, get the start, and step up. And I think that's something that should be a positive right now to help them kind of right the ship. That you have guys that can go out there, Marcus Anderson, Chris Donovan, Jeremy Raffanello, go out there and just play and get better each day.
So Raffanello that you hit on, I thought he did a wonderful job in the Miami game against Sergio Busquets. I think on the broadcast for that game, I don't think I called Busquets' name for the first 10, 15 minutes. I know that quickly changes, the quality of the player that Busquets is, but happy for Rafa that a guy who's really working hard in training, great story in himself, has played with multiple clubs from the Red Bull system, from Indy 11, a year at Penn State under Jeff Cook and others. So happy for Raffanello. Donovan gives you that burst of speed to kind of change the game. And Chris has been close to scoring. We saw it at the end against Querétaro and Leagues Cup. It's one of my favorite calls from last year. So maybe that final product from Chris and just trying to score. By the way, he's doing a wonderful job scoring with Union 2. Yeah. Obviously, he'll tell you he just wants to score with the first team. He's getting closer when called upon. Tai Baribo, you mentioned getting the brace in Cincy. Ecstatic for Tai that he's getting time. Look, with Carranza, the deal's not done yet, but it's obviously widely reported that he's going to go to the Netherlands to Feyenoord. It's now Baribo time, and Tai's going to get his chances. And Tai, I think, has put together two great shifts, not just in the Cincy game. I thought even at the end of the game where the Union were down, I saw a lot of the running and the defensive running, and I think that says a lot, as both of you know, when a striker is doing all that running, especially when the team is down. Tai's given you that, and I think he does have it in him to finish off plays, and now he's going to get that time. I said it during one of our chalk talks to our fans at Union Yards before the game. I thought he would score. He was very close, as I mentioned, in the fourth minute. Some other sequences as well among Quinn Sullivan on a one-time hit, Nate Harriel. You mentioned some of the young guys, and unfortunately for the Union, about missing guys with that theme. Yeah. Likely Nate Harriel and Jack McGlynn will be called to the Olympic team, so we'll miss them next month. I've mentioned on the air, I know Jim has in press conferences and to the media, that Quinn Sullivan should be in the mix too.
Yes.
Shout out to CJ Alney getting in for his first MLS appearance. Did well with the U.S. under-19s, talked to him at training recently, capped against Uruguay, was also in Argentina with the under-19s. David Vasquez as well, as you mentioned, another player that's going to come up the pipeline. Jim said it in the post game that Union may lead the league in homegrown minutes, but everybody doesn't want to talk about that because of the results, and they are what they are. And everybody knows the backbone of this team is the academy. So the question is, can you mold the younger talents with the experienced ones, like an Ali Bedoya, hopefully back sooner than later from a quad injury, Blake, among others, and against guys that have been in MLS maybe 2-3 years. Can you mesh them together?
Right.
And the Union have proven that they can. It just, have they gotten that full 90-minute product this year? And it hasn't happened as much as we all expected it to.
Yeah. Well, Baribo, it's interesting because if he keeps this up the way he's been playing the last two matches, we know how the city works. He's worked his butt off. He's going to find a lot of fans very quickly if he continues working at that rate.
I agree. And look, he's given it at training. Unfortunately for Tai, who's capped with Israel, decisions have gone against him, but he knows the situation. I know he's talked with manager, Jim Curtin, and his name was going to be called upon, whether it was the Carranza, transfer, or somebody going down, Ua, Sullivan, the different formations up top. Tai is going to get his chances. I think fans are saying like, oh, how come Tai didn't play more before? And now you say, well, he had 2 really good games, and the coaching staff sees every day what's going on. And as you both know, sometimes, 1 or 2 guys are above you on the depth chart, and it takes, unfortunately, a sale or an injury to happen. But I've talked with Tai personally, again, really happy for him. He's trying to give it his all with this opportunity. And I think as the summer months go by, you're going to be seeing more of Tai Baribo. And like I said, he was very close of scoring in back-to-back games. And whether he's a starter or coming off the bench against Montreal, I do think he will play an integral part in the matchup over the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. And I just like the fact that we are seeing for Jim, this is something I give him credit for doing, tweaking things. You roll out a lineup with all 5 defenders on the pitch at once. You mix up the formations. You try guys in different spots. These are the things that, especially when you're not getting the results, I don't mind you trying something different. You see, as you mentioned, every day how you guys are training, how you're talking through tactics, how you're watching film. So you know what makes sense. I'm not saying like throw it all out there and just like make some mess up. No, try minor moves that do make sense, bigger picture. And I think Ty's a great example of somebody who has been working his butt off. Jim has talked a lot about how well he's been doing in training and how he's been progressing. And now to finally see him get those minutes on the field, you could see how it's translated. He's buzzing around, I like that he's making good runs. He's active. He wants the ball, and he just brings some energy and life to the attack. And you could see where he's coming in, someone fresh that hasn't gotten the minutes and is making the most of them now. And that's all you could ask for.
And it hasn't played a ton with Mikel Ua, by the way. I will say this. I know, you could say what you want about the shift against Charlotte, but he did before that, 2 goals and an assist in I think a span of 3 games. And I want to give credit to Mikel. He's playing really, really well as of late. Of course, strikers are judged, as you guys know, and goals more paramount than assists, but goal contributions. So there aren't the numbers of like a Lucho Acosta, reigning MVP. But I just want to say, like, it does, as you both know, and I think many watching, it does take time for a partnership to happen. And mainly it was, as we all know, Carranza and Ua. So if it's going to be Baribo and Ua moving forward up top in a 4-4-2 diamond, let's see how those 2 play off of one another, 2 totally different players. And hopefully when Gazdag comes back, or if it's Raffanello holding the 10 or Sullivan slots in there or somebody else, hopefully everybody, can mesh together